Good afternoon. Okay, so first of all, welcome to everybody to this hangout, to this special edition, especially in this rainy day. I guess for some it might have been more difficult to get here today. So before we start, I wanted to tell you a bit about the conference that Startup Portugal is organizing now, and that will take place in Porto from the 2nd to the 4th of May. It's called SIM Conference, and it's designed to create meaningful relationships between startups, entrepreneurs, and investors. So if you're interested in networking, in knowing more about the Portuguese ecosystem, and if you're looking for investment, this might be the right place to be. We recently confirmed several great speakers in our conference. The latest one was Tim Ferriss from the 4-Hour Workweek. So if you're interested in networking with these speakers, please go to simconf.com and register. Okay? So, before the subject that brings us here today is to the next level, so we'll be talking about the future of gaming. And today in our panel we will have Luís Silva, President of Porto Tech Hub in Porto, and Jefferson Valadares, President of APVP, the Association of Portuguese Video Game Producers, Marcus Holmstrom, CEO at The Gang. And moderating the conversation, we will have Vanessa Dias, the creator of Videojogo de Sela. So I want to thank you all for participating in this conversation. We will also have 3 startups who will be presenting their ideas in this warm-up pitch, but I will let João present them to you. So thank you, Marilia, and welcome everybody, and have a great hangout.
Thank you so much, Patricia. Hi, Porto, Marilia, are you there? Can you hear me?
Hi, João. Nice to see you. I think
Nice
you
to see you
see
too.
me.
Yes, we see you and hear you loud and clear. So let's start our pitching session with Test Waves, presented by Pedro Fernandes.
Well, thank you so much. Do I get the slides here? Yes, I do. Well, thank you so much. So it's a pleasure being here. I'll go straight to the chase. I'm Pedro, and I'm here presenting Test Waves. So who are we? So it's me, Pedro, Diogo Rato, who is over there taking a picture right now, and Rui Prada as well, and we are research founders. So together we have more than 25 years of research on games and AI, and we want to share it with the industry. So why us? So Diogo is the director of the Portuguese Game Developers Association and has a PhD on game AI. I'm a PhD candidate researching using agents to test video games, and Rui is a senior researcher on game AI and has multiple decades of experience in this area. So what is the problem that we are tackling? So video game testing is very labor intensive. It's something that's very hard to do, mostly because, well, games are very complex. So they need extensive testing to ensure everything's working correctly. Most of this testing is very repetitive. The tasks are repetitive and done over and over again. And overall, this is very slow and very costly. So this is what currently happens today. So you have a game, it has a few features that were developed, and you have a human that needs to spend time testing these features and makes a report. As the game evolves, more features are added, that person has to spend more time, or you need to hire more people that need to spend even more time testing all of these features. What we want to do is be here in the middle, and so we have this person testing the things as it normally would, but we record everything that person does, so we can test the things that have been previously tested when we need to test them again. So the person can focus on testing the new things, the things that haven't been tested yet, and we do this for all of the iterations so that people can test the things that are new, increasing the coverage of the game, and we test the things that have been previously tested. So what we want to be is a platform where developers can upload their game into the cloud, define the tests that they want to test, set triggers for those tests, define when things go right, when things go wrong, and get feedback about everything that went wrong or right with the game that they just developed. So the gaming industry is huge. So it's a very, very, very big market. game testing is around 10% of all of the game production, sometimes even more. So we have a very big market with the demand for these new testing technologies, given the new AI content generated and user content generation as well. And we find that we have a very good opportunity here. We have competitors, obviously, but none of the competitors fit on the low integration effort and low long-term cost as we do. So we have other competitors, human competitors, but these are very expensive long-term. We have other AI developments for QA bots, but they are very hard to integrate with the games, which is something that developers obviously don't want. So we fit right here. So low integration cost and low long-time cost. And we want to be a SaaS with many tiers to cater to all of the needs of the industry, from the indie developers to the AAA studios that require a lot of testing and a lot of security. This is something we're taking into consideration from the start. And, well, I have 3 minutes, so that is all. Thank you very much. We are currently raising our pre-seed round, so if you are interested in joining us, please talk to us, and thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Pedro.
Thank you.
And now, is this working? Yeah, I think it is. Now, let's call to the stage Ms. Isida Carpuzzi, did I spell it correctly, to present us the Carbon Games.
Hello, everyone. Great, you can hear me. I'll just wait for my slides. Hello, Porto. Okay, so I'm Isida, co-founder at the Carbon Games, your future mobility super app, where we are gamifying the transition to sustainable transportation with our apps. Oh, that went back. So the problem we are trying to solve is the daily problem of the frequent commutes of people driving to work and back. And even Google knows how bad these are, stressful and bad for the environment. The transportation industry is one of the biggest polluting industries out there, and these commutes account for 1/4 of those emissions from transportation. And of course, by the time we get to work, after we're stuck in traffic, we're all feeling pretty bad. So we think that we can solve this. We can make commutes fun, social, and carbon neutral through these 3 steps: a gamified application that we have created that is super user-friendly, that offers a friendly alternative, environmentally friendly alternative to driving. And we can also add competition and cooperation between employees going to work. And I have a quick demo to show you how it works. I hope it plays. Let's see.
Let's introduce Pedro on his way to the Web Summit and open to some company for the ride. Nearby, Sophia is also eyeing a ride to the same event. Sophia spots Pedro's carpool on the Carbon Games app. She selects a seat, confirms her spot, and voila! They're all set for a shared ride to the summit, each with a smaller carbon footprint.
So we are mainly targeting corporations, like I said, but we can also use our carpooling solutions for larger events like the Web Summit. And here is the gamification tiers that we use in our app. So if somebody wanted to use this as just a mobility solution, they can. The corporations can use it just for carpooling, and they can see the CO2 savings on our dashboard on the back end. But they can go a step further and add rewards to incentivize their employees to carpool. And we do this by partnering up with business parks or multiple corporations and telling them to give rewards like a free car wash for the person that commuted the most or the carpool the most, or free coffee or other rewards. And then being that we are in crypto-friendly Portugal, we've also added a blockchain aspect to the 3rd tier of gamification, where we can airdrop NFTs as an added incentive. And I have also another quick demo to show this.
Here's a user, Sarah, attending the event. You'll notice that she cannot click the Claim Rewards button on her app if she is not physically present at the event. However, once she is within the radius of the event, the button to Claim Rewards will be activated, and she can claim her share of the bounty.
Yes, so with this feature, we use geofencing to airdrop NFTs only when people are in a certain location and after they've carpooled. So this was just another way of us showcasing how we're using gamification in this app. This is our team. We're pretty small. Nikhil and I are the co-founders. He's also here today. And then we have a few designers and developers remotely that have joined us. Finally, I just wanted to show this quick competitive slide. A lot of people compare us to Uberpool or Scoop Carpool, if you know any of those. But as you can see from this slide, we are different in that we focus specifically for corporations for these short daily commutes and also all the gamification aspects that we are adding to our solution. So that's it. You can visit us at thecarbongames.com and download the app and try it out for yourselves.
Great. Thank you, Isidha. Got curious to know more. I will for sure download the app. So now I would like to call to the stage Paula Longo, co-founder of Useflow.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? So, companies around the globe are laying to waste more than 20% of their profitability every year. And it happens because 8 out of 10 of their employees are disengaged, which also increases their turnover by more than 40% in the middle of the largest labor shortage crisis of the century. Reasons that cause disengagement are related to poor internal communication and lack of employee training and development. Problems that only get worse in companies where the workforce don't access computers. Industry, retail, construction, hospitality, 80% of global workers still rely on bulletin boards and printed newspapers, things that clearly aren't working. Useflow was developed so the internal communication can finally reach the shop floor. Companies can face the labor shortage without losing people while increasing their productivity and profitability. It was developed thinking about the blue-collar worker experience. It can reach up to 95% adoption and increase engagement by over 300%. Today, we're all overwhelmed by the large amount of information, communication, and channels that we have. Then you might ask, how can you increase engagement in this environment? And the answer is gamification. Adding a strategy of gamification to your communication can tear down the adoption barrier and increase the engagement, because content plus gamification equals engagement. The sense of competition and reward that is so natural to gaming is what supports this engagement. So people can actually create the habit of consuming company content, and it can actually turn it into something that is desired by the workforce. That is why some of the market leaders in Brazil and Latin America trust our product. And we started our first sales in Portugal. Our incredible clients that are using gamification to increase their sales, to reduce errors, and to prevent accidents allowed us to reach over 200,000 euros in annual revenue last year, while having less than 3% of churn. But we do want more than that. This is a multi-billion euros market, and it grows up to 5% each year. It's estimated that by 2028, companies will be spending about 270 billion euros trying to solve their engagement problem. Spoiler alert, they won't solve it unless they use Useflow. We currently have an open round and plans to expand to Spain. If you wish to help us with any of that or want to know more about our plans, please scan the QR code and contact me. Thank you.
Do we have Lisbon on the screen? So now I would like to thank all the founders and co-founders that just did the pitch. So we'll wrap up this session now and start our discussion panel. And start that discussion, I would like to call Luis Silva, President of Porto Tech Hub. And now yes, please, thank you. Now João in Lisbon, I think he will call the rest of the panelists.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Marilia. Now, please welcome Jefferson Valadares, President of the Portuguese Video Games Producer Association. I think I said it correctly. Marcus Holstrom, CEO of The Gang, and Vanessa Dias, our moderator. creator of videojogo Disse Ela.
This is it. Hello. Hello, Luis, over there in Porto. We'll make sure to bridge the gap between us, and tech is helping us do just so. We are not pitching, those are done, but we are here to talk about video games, innovation, and what's on our horizon as video game professionals, but also video game enthusiasts. First of all, thank you for being here. I know it's a lot of rain outside, so you were brave to conquer that challenge. Thank you as well for my colleagues here in Lisbon and Luis over there at Porto to be joining me on this conversation. I think we need an icebreaker, so just to get a feel of the audience here, do we have gaming professionals among us? Just raise your hand. Okay, how about gamers?
Do we have in Porto? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead, go ahead. I was about to ask that, but go ahead.
I'm an amateur, so I don't count. I'm an amateur.
And how about gamers here in Lisbon and in Porto? Do we have gamers over there as well, over here? I'm raising my hand because I'm both, and I love it. It's just part of who I am as well, as I'm sure it will be part of a lot of us here. But without further ado, and since my colleagues are already introduced, I will now break the ice with them, since I've break the ice with you. So, for my colleagues here and Luis over at Porto, if you can describe in just one word what the future of gaming looks like to you, what word would that be? Just a word, just to kickstart. You need to be creative. Just one word.
Me? UGC.
Got it, UGC. How about you, Luis? One word to describe the future of
Human.
gaming. One word, human.
Human.
Got it. Jefferson?
Jetpacks.
I'd be excited about jetpacks. So we have UGC, human, jetpacks, but I would also like to understand and kickstart this conversation looking at the future and trying to understand what kind of trends, what kind of innovations do you think will shape 2024 and the years that come when it comes to video game industry, and what we can expect of milestones and new things happening in the gaming industry. So Luis, I will start with you over there in Porto. What do you think will be the trends that will shape video games and the gaming industry in 2024?
Thank you for I'm pretty sure that my colleagues over there in Lisbon have more experience than me. I'm just a gamer, so first of all, thank you for receiving me. I said human in the first place because as I was studying this, preparing myself for this subject, I realized that, and I'm studying a lot of the AI, and I know it is a trend, and I know it is a trend and it will be a trend in gaming and as well in gambling. That's an industry that I'm in. I must say that the human side will always be very important for the building and realizing and production of the game, and will not substitute the AI will not substitute anyway the human side of the gaming, and that's why it is a trend. It will always be a trend, the AI, but the human side won't be affected by that. I know that a lot of colleagues that work in the gaming side are very concerned about that, even the gambling side, but I don't see that being affected in many jobs that are currently opening. That will be a trend. The NFT and the chain are a trend. I know that some of the pitches address that as well. And the part of, and that's my core business, of course, the part of mixing and blending, gambling and gaming, the trend right now, and will continue to be a trend, for what I know.
Thank you, Luis. Jefferson, what do you think?
Trends. I mean, okay, talking about 24, then obviously AI is like a big topic because that's hot everywhere. So like people are talking about that. And yeah, if you go back to the last few years, every year has like a thing, right? You know, at some point it was NFT and then metaverse, and you know, now AI is the word of du jour. I mean, if you look a little bit longer, like, or like more like long view, like one thing that gets me really excited about games is because it's always changing. And I think if you, there's a lot of people who like retro gaming, so they like to go back and look at the games from the 80s and make pixel graphics, and And I'm a futurist gamer, so I love. I mean, I played the games in the 80s and they sucked. Like the games today are way better. So I love that like things keep evolving and keep making use of all technology. The more games get inclusive, like the more people get involved into the making the games, the better they get as well. So like, in the beginning it was like a couple of guys in the US, now like the whole world makes games, and the same with the players. Like at some point only a few people play games, but like now everyone plays games, right? And if you I mean, the next generation, if you think right now we all play games, just look at the kids, like everyone just play games, right? It's not even a question. So that will also generate like new ways to play, new ways to interact. So I'm 24 AI, but for the future, like I don't know, and I'm really excited to find out.
Yeah. So Marcus, you're talking about UGC, but how will the trends and innovations in 2024 also will feed into what you see as the future of the gaming when it comes to user-generated content, I would say?
No, I mentioned UGC due to the
UGC,
reason,
sorry.
user-generated content, due to the reason that if I look into the trends, I know this question was coming, that's why I said it. No, but if you look into the trends in the gaming industry, what happened recently. So you take 2 games, Lethal Company, have you heard of that? Yeah, see everyone is nodding here. No one did. No, it was a company released around 5 months ago. They sold between 10 to 15 million copies in Q4 for $10 per piece. They were built by one guy. So only one person coming from Roblox. So we actually took a UGC game, transferred it completely into Steam, and totally won over every AAA studio during Q4. Then you had Palworld. People heard about that one, I guess. A very similar story, very small team, doing the same thing. This scares the traditional gaming companies a lot. Because now smaller teams come. You talked about technology, I fully agree. AI technology and all the possibilities for smaller team are coming into play. And then also, they're coming from different platforms like Roblox, Fortnite, UFN, and those. And then using things that you haven't done before into the traditional. That's why I think, I don't only think because we've seen it, the trends are moving into that direction. And that's a huge shift.
Yeah, I would say the last I don't know, 5 years maybe, like pretty much all the innovations in gaming came from small teams.
Yeah.
Large companies, of course, they deliver the big results, but I think a lot of the innovation really is coming from the small teams.
Do you think that there's more freedom to innovate in smaller teams, or more?
Yeah, I think big companies, like you kind of somehow like a prisoner of your success, right? So like you innovator's dilemma, like type of stuff. Like, so I think, and the small companies, they don't care. They just want to make a game they like, and a lot of those don't work, to be clear. Like innovation also exists in a mass extinction like sense as well. But, like, there's a lot of people trying stuff that doesn't work, but some stuff works, right? And grabs the zeitgeist, and then the big companies run to try to copy them because they have the resources and stuff. Yeah.
No, and I just want to fill in there, and I think that's the big difference and change, because they actually do things they love.
Yeah.
They do things that they actually truly believe in, while the big companies, they have a plan, and then they look into it from a long perspective, and then they say, in 9 years we're going to release this game. Hopefully it's going to work, and it's going to cost $200 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did think so. I just skipped a lot of questions because that brings me to one of the ones I was going to ask following the conversation. So do you think, because this is a creative industry, and when we talk about creativity in, I would say, smaller teams or more space to kind of challenge each other and go against what could be rules for bigger companies, what's the role of startups and entrepreneurship in gaming, and how does that kind of could or couldn't disrupt the concept, the idea that all companies need to go through, I would say, investment rounds, or because there's a lot more to it than that, right? So how do you see this difference, or this way of working between smaller companies and big companies?
Yeah, but there are different ways of doing it. I can, you don't know me, well, apart from one person. But our story is that we were not planning to start a company, and we did something for fun 4 years ago, approx. And then we had a plan just to create a game. So what we did was that we gathered 5 people in total, people that we complemented each other, that we thought was really good at different things. And then we kind of started to build this game. But then we kind of accidentally, I think I move this one a bit, otherwise you're going to eat it. No, then we accidentally came into to Roblox and started working there on building games for ourselves and then for companies. So we didn't take in any investment rounds. And now we did not too long ago, but mainly because I wanted these investors on my side of the table. And now we're 250 people. We've been growing organically, and yeah, now I have to work again, and which is actually fun. But so I think to answer your question, you don't have to take investment rounds, and if you do, it's always good. I saw a few of the pitches. It's always good that you actually have something that you truly believe in that can actually be sustainable, and especially now. There's no free money anymore. There was a few years ago. Now it's way more difficult. Now you have to have a sustainable business model. You have to actually have something that is bringing in money, and I would probably test it and get a few clients, and then it's easier to get investments as well, rather than doing it opposite, showing something cool, because then very few are going to come in, which I actually think is good. I have to say that. I think that's better, because there were too many companies that got money a few years ago that shouldn't have had money.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah.
People are going to hate me. It's usually like that. So.
Yeah, but I mean, you're absolutely right. Like the pandemic obviously hit a lot of industries, but gaming actually went up. Like I remember, my own startup at the time, all of our numbers went up 20%. We did nothing. Like the world went home, and then like our numbers went up. So that meant that a lot of people invested in games that didn't invest in games before. So we had this influx of people who did not know games and wanted to put money, and then people who did not know games and got money to make games. And I mean, I guess a lot of it didn't work. So it was probably not, like I said, maybe not the best thing. But yeah, for investment, I mean, the thing I like to tell people is like the source of your money affects your like trajectory. So like if you get money from a VC, then there's going to be some expectations and some types of pressure, and you're going to have to like do certain things that maybe you don't want to, but it's part of the cost of getting the money. If you get money from, I don't know, there's like government funding in many places in Europe, for example, Creative Europe. All right, I mean, you can get some kind of funding, and then that also has some strengths. You can put your own money, but then like there's also that personal cost, right, of like not having a salary or so I think you got to figure out like it's important that people understand like where they want to go to, and then try to choose the thing that makes sense. And I'm saying this in an ideal way, ideal world, because as an entrepreneur, I know very well that no plan works like all the time. So like you got to be scrappy and figure it out. But I think it's very important that you know where you want to end up, and I think that will help you make the best choices. And sometimes there's a scene in one of my favorite scenes of that Silicon Valley, the HBO show. I don't know if you guys like watch it, but sometimes it feels too close to reality. And like there's a scene where he's talking to a company that exploded because they raised like too much money. And then the guy meets him in the bar and like, so I always wanted to ask, like, why did you get the money? And the guy was like, I could have said no. I could have said no. So yeah, I mean, you gotta figure out right there. Then yeah, stuff. There's always a cost,
So Luis, you were also talking about the importance of the human side and the human aspect of it, which is all about entrepreneurship and also creativity. What's your standpoint on this conversation around the role of creativity and entrepreneurship entrepreneurship and and startups when it comes to
even in Portuguese.
Yeah, it is.
Well, if we look back in Porto, for example, years ago, 20 years, yes, 8 years, let's say, in ecosystem, it was totally different. You can say that we can look at the event even now. We didn't have kind of event in the past, let's say, like 6 years ago. We have now the City Hall here. We have now the Association of Sport Technology here. We have a lot of people here physically. We didn't have this kind of events. So that means that the mindset for this kind of events, in the entrepreneurship mindset is kind of changing right now. So it's very good, very good. I think that, I don't know the ecosystem in Lisbon, but I can say that in the north we have a lot of initiative because by ourselves, we did a lot for the ecosystem. Meaning by that, we create the game dev community that has a lot of events each month, at least 100 members, active members, let's say. We receive them a lot of times in FAMAC, for example. They did a lot of birthdays there. From the day one, we support them as an active community, and that's very important because it's made by volunteers who spend their own time creating the community, spending time pushing for speakers to develop the ecosystem. That's very important. I don't know if that happens in Lisbon, but at least in North, the people are like this. And that's why we have the City Hall right now seated in front of this kind of events. Because in the past, our mothers and our fathers will say, the games are only to spend time. You'll never earn money with that. And nowadays we can say for sure that even in Portugal, we have not a lot, but some companies already that survive by making games. And even outside of the Portugal companies, in Portugal ecosystem, we have Saber Interactive, for example. It is one of the main companies in Portugal that is creating a lot of games, AAA games, for example. Which is very important. So, I mean, we have a lot of game jams made by volunteers, some even made by companies like, I have to say again, by mine because I'm representing a company here as well. Entrepreneurship is very important, but at least in Porto, I have to say that people, and of course the human side, and that's why I said that in the first place, means a lot to me because people spend their free time doing this kind of activities just because they wanted to develop the ecosystem by themselves. And that's the most important thing, and that's why the north part of the city, the north part of the country is so at least developed right now regarding this kind of business. So for me, it's all about human in the final part of the day. Even if it's for video games or other things.
I'm not from the north or the south or the islands or anything, but I mean that's why we wanted to create the gaming hub together with the City Hall, because so it's an initiative by Fortis, the company I work for, the association, the company I happen to preside, and then the City Hall. We got together and built the gaming hub to build a community, because I think a lot of this stuff, things get faster when you learn from each other. If each company is working on a silo, then everybody's low, and it's painful. I mean, making games is very hard. But if you do it together, then you can learn, you can share experiences. There you see in the hub people saying oh, I just saw this guy who'll be good for you. Do you want me to make the intro? All this stuff kind of flows a lot better if you have the physical space. I mean, remote has a lot of good things, but yeah, people together in a room can make magics too.
So would you say that the power of community is one of the tools to keep up with innovation, help each other grow, and keep up the pace with the challenges and opportunities that we are seeing here?
Yeah. Also, like I said, games is hard, but suffering in a group, it's better. If you suffer by yourself, it's terrible. But in a group, it's always better.
Do you agree, Marcus?
Yeah, but I do. We actually moved there 2 days ago, so I haven't been there long. So I will suffer with you soon. But no, I fully agree. I think it's really, really good to to be together, because then you can also share ideas and you can find new ways of doing it, and also connections with investors, for example, or there might be people that you actually need for your own projects, and then it might be good to have them close by.
Yeah. On that note, if everything is changing at such a rapid pace, we need to keep up with our career skills, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So I'd like to know your standpoint on what's the relevance or on upskilling or reskilling within the company or as a professional individually to keep up with everything that's going on at such a fast pace. What does that mean currently for the gaming landscape when it comes to skills and careers?
Yeah, it's crazy. We just actually started like a internal training kind of. I mean, it's we kind of collect a lot of training, and then people pick at their own pace together with the manager and stuff. But we decided to put more effort to that exactly because of what you mentioned. Like the things change so fast, and AI is going to affect the way a lot of the jobs get done. There's like this kind of scrappy startups trying to steal away QA people's jobs. Like, so we gotta. I'm joking, obviously, but like but yeah, people gotta get used to the fact that like the way they do their job today may not be the way they do their job tomorrow, and then if they don't get on board, they might not have a job. So I think like you gotta get on that, right? And I think as a company, we obviously want our people to kind of carry on learning. But yeah, I think it's you gotta pay attention. I think a lot of people go into like, oh, this is like a lot of the artists' original reaction to Gen AI is like, this is not like ethics, whatever, and they just put their heads in the sand. But like, I mean, you should really pay attention because this can wipe your job out. Like, so you should pay attention. And I'm not saying like just go and do whatever, but like pay attention, learn, test, talk to other artists. Like, 'cause there's good things too. It's not just like all bad news. But I think some of it is attitude, some of it is the opportunity. But yeah, the world's changing. I mean, I like to joke as well that I have a master's in AI, which nobody cared about until like last 18 months. Now everybody, I'm on time, 20 years later. But like, it's kind of funny how things go. But it's important to like pay attention.
I would say that with the gang, that's also a priority.
Yeah, but 100%. We are continuously trying to educate, and also when we started the company, 2020 was the first year, and looking into what we're doing now, it's a huge difference. It's a massive difference. So we are constantly trying to evolve and change and add on new business models and everything. And you have to, because looking into also how the market is changing, and not only personal kind of knowledge. People are talking about AI. Of course, people should keep up with what's happening and try to not be afraid of it, but more see how can it assist you and help you, how it can make your life easier, and then involve in that way. But also when you look into the companies, they are facing the same reality. They have the difficulty as well when they are the things that did take marketing, for example, the things they did in marketing a few years ago, it's absolutely different today. So they have to evolve as well, and everyone does. Otherwise, you're going to be a dinosaur.
Yeah, it's true. Luis, do you also agree that being skeptical and not open to change is not the way to go when it comes to be keeping up with the trends and being able to update your own skills and your career path?
I don't know. It depends what we are talking about.
Well, we were talking mainly AI, but it's a question of trying to understand if upskilling and reskilling is one of the key points we need to be doing in order to keep up with innovations in the gaming industry.
Well, I'm always studying new things, so of course I'm all about reskilling and skilling, and I'm always motivating the other ones to do it. Regarding new trends, I always tend to look at them cautious. When we talk about the AI for the first time, like 2 years ago, when we heard that concept for the first time in the newspapers, I have to say that when I look at that, I thought to myself, maybe it's a new buzzword like the other ones that we tend to use for a long time and then disappeared and then nothing happened. and then we tend to use another one. So sometimes I tend to look at things cautious because, you know, in tech sometimes appears something and then it appears again and then appears some new thing, and we tend to look at things like it's a new innovation, and then no one does or opens the door without a key anymore. It's it's a new trend, a new trend, a new trend. Regarding AI, of course, we already understood that for a long time that it's not the trend, it's here to stay, so we have to learn and learn much possible as we can. So, but there's also some other stuff that we should learn in order to get on track. Maybe in Lisbon, the ecosystem is bigger than ours. You guys could learn. You guys could share more knowledge to us, because sometimes what I feel here in Porto is that the ecosystem, as it's not so big, we tend to maybe not to share so much or not to get so much information as we could be learning, or we could be getting. So I think that to get the ecosystem more balanced, I would say that to get more upskill, to get more reskilling, of course, and to get more trends and to get more information and communication, maybe to get more information from your side, it will be good for us in our city, for example.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the association, we have a lot of the members in Porto, so we do, there's a natural sharing of stuff going on, but I agree that it could be better, and I think we try to do more with the meets that happen every month. But you made a really good point about the marketing.
You guys receive a lot of information from abroad in first hand.
Yeah, but you guys also have Saber there, who is also like playing in the big game. So I think, we can all learn from each other. It's not just like one way, but I was saying like the marketing point, because if you think about games in the beginning, like it was like you'd go to a bar and then you put a coin, and that's how the game worked. And then just on a business model side, then you got advertised like in a bar, like with a light thing, and that was marketing for games that back then. And then it became CDs and DVDs and then like UA, and then you're doing marketing on Facebook and everything's great, and then Apple changes the thing, and then everybody has to learn again, and influencers, like just one area of games, because games like multidisciplinary, right? Like to be good at this, you got to be good at like engineering, art, design, marketing, business, testing. You got to be good at like so many things to be successful. So I think like everybody needs to pay attention. It's not just like the developer or the artist, like the marketer, the CEO. Everybody needs to be paying attention, because it's changing all the time, which is the thing that makes it so exciting.
Yeah.
That's what I love anyway.
Especially because I would say that also teams are more and more diverse, and people are working together across departments trying to deliver the product together. So I do understand. On that note, and the marketing, we've seen that brands have been reaching out more and more into the gaming environment and seeing games as an additional way of brand activation, brand engagement, and reaching audiences through another medium. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that? Because I know that you do a lot of that at the game, but also trying to understand if, since we are talking about trends, innovations, and the future, if you think that a tech like VR, AI, or even AR would be responsible to help deliver more tailored experiences or more personalized experience when it comes to each and every one of the users that will interact with a brand, for example.
Yeah, no, I would love to. We are working mainly in Roblox, and the reason why we do it is because Roblox is the biggest. Share some numbers, they have around 300 million unique people every month, 70 million every day. Way bigger than in terms of hourly spend or than most of the social platforms. That's why we focus there. And then that's also why a lot of brands want to focus there, because you reach...
It's where people are.
Yeah, you reach people between 7 years to 25 approx. And we work with, we build worlds there, we build games there for them. We worked with, to mention a few, some I cannot mention, of course, but McLaren Formula 1, Spotify, Amazon, FIFA, the football organization, a lot of sports actually, NHL, 3 of the 4 Grand Slams, Wimbledon, US Open, Australian, and so forth, and quite many. And they do it for several reasons. They want to, of course, reach a new audience, target audience, but they also want to learn and see how can their product fit with the new audience. If you take, for example, Gucci, a high fashion brand, worked for them, and then we released a lot of new collections. And that was mainly to see kind of what do the actually new audiences, the buyers not today but tomorrow, think about it. Do they like it? Because they're going to put it on their own avatar, and then they can measure how much are they actually using it. And then they see in reality how it actually fits with the target audience that's coming tomorrow. And also plant a seed of saying, this might be interesting for you when you're older. Vans, we did a different thing, which is super, super interesting, I think. Looking into from, I saw one of the pictures of talking about carbon footprint and lowering it. And I think a lot of times when the industries are producing items, they are doing a lot of different products. They send it out and they hope someone will buy it. That's usually how it works. And then if someone doesn't buy it, they hopefully give it away or they just burn it, which we've seen. But if you use these new ecosystems, like we did with Vans, we did a shoe creation. So you can go in there, in the Vans game, and you can create your own shoes for your own avatar. We have had approximately 105 million visits or something in that game alone. And then you can create your own shoes. So you can choose which model, exactly how do you want it to look, the details, the colors, everything. You can toss in new things there. This gives direct data to Vans, to the company, VF company, which they are called, to see who likes which model, not as a person, obviously, but kind of jurisdiction-wise. If you look into in a certain country, age group. And then instead of guessing the models that should come, they can actually send it because they have the data.
Yeah.
And
So
that's super interesting, I think.
So it's, would you say that it also touches a little bit of user research when it comes to brand activation?
Of
in
course,
video
it's
games?
yeah, but you have to be smart with it. You shouldn't only do it for a PR brand activation way or only monetization. You should kind of look into it. How can it actually tap into the other parts of your business? And you said, I didn't forget your other question, by the way. AR and the VR and those technologies. I think that's extensions only. What we do, everything we do is cross-platform. So you can use VR for all our experiences. You can do, actually a lot of them are terrible in VR, but you can. You can also use them on mobile, console, and PC. But we have some that are really, really good on VR. You take the Nerf, for example, the foam guns, so Nerf Strike we have there. But I think I tend to look at technologies as secondary and look into the user case and why primary. I want to see kind of what problem does it solve, and then you can add technology. You can use kind of a VR headset from Meta or from Apple or whatever, but it needs to solve something. There needs to be reason. But then, of course, you can gamify it. We did with the Premier League. We did an AR solution where you're running around and then you're trying to find. It was like a Pokemon Go type of game. So you run around and then you could find different trophies, and then if you found all of them, you could win tickets to Premier League games. So it's kind of. I think you have to be creative in ways.
Jefferson, do you also think that brand activation in video games is a way of bringing new players or finding if the existing ones will match for the brand?
It's a good question. I mean, like, I think brands are generally trying to find the audience, and I think sometimes they want to grow the audience as well, so they want to understand like the fans and try to like grow it, right? So I think games is like one of the ways they can do it, and depending on the demographic, might be the best way to do it. Yeah, so I think it's like a natural path. I mean, not a lot of them do it well. I think like some of them like actually partner with people who know what they're doing. Some of them just try to do it themselves and maybe don't do the best job. But like, there's been like a lot of hits and misses over the years. But yeah, I mean, it's undeniable that like games are powerful because it's play is a natural human thing. So we all, even though people might not call themselves like gamers, I'm pretty sure you play the game at some point. Everybody plays. It's like human nature. It's part of society. So I think so for that reason, we'll always be powerful as a way to kind of engage people. But yeah, it's about like how well you use it and what you use it for. And yeah.
Would you say that it also has? Would you both say that it also has a kind of aspirational aspect to it? So, for example, I can then interact with a brand that, in real life, I wouldn't, or when it comes to fashion, for example, which is a big one nowadays in the metaverse, try something on or wear something on a character that I would be able to afford in real life. Do you think that that's also a positive point for brands, or is something that it kind of happens but it's not the main goal?
No, I see it every day that they are interacting with brands that they maybe cannot afford, but would never ever buy in real life otherwise. Same for me. If you look into my avatar versus how I look,
yeah,
it's very different most of the days. I have wings and stuff, and I don't now. No, so I think, but it's a first step for them to kind of explore new audiences and see what, and you can do crazy things with it. So I think that's definitely. But then also with all new areas, because this is a new area, gaming is not new, obviously. But if you look into brands in a gaming environment, it's fairly new. It's been tried in a few times, but it's been very clunky. It's been very bad. But it's the same thing if you look into other industries. You look into Facebook advertising in the beginning, it was absolutely awful. Look into traditional, I come from traditional marketing. I started my first marketing company in 97. The marketing in 97 online was absolutely terrible. And look into brand activations in movies back in the days. The same thing there. It's hilarious when you see it today, but that's kind of is evolving.
I agree. Luis, you were talking about our moms having doubts about if video games would be a good future for us. Do you think that this kind of trends and initiatives like brands going into the gaming universe and using video games as also a means to reach audiences, do you think that in some way brings a new perspective to what people think about video games in that matter of it being a job and also a serious medium when it comes to creativity? It can be seen as an art. What's your stance on it?
Well, I think nowadays it's considered an art already for everyone, even for our fathers from our generation already believe in that. They already perceive this as art / an industry because they already see the competitions giving money to the players. They already see the industry that is behind, and they already see the money that we spend on the PlayStation 5. So that is half of our salary. So they already understand that. Give some money to at least someone. So of course they already understand that it's a profitable market. Besides that, I'm not sure if everyone understood already the complexity that demands this industry. My colleagues were talking about testing a game, producing a game, the music that requires the game, the complexity of the music. We can see that in the game jam, and I think it's the best way for a person that is not from this area, like me, for example, to understand the complexity that takes and demands to produce a game, and the art that requires to produce a game. At least in 72 hours, you can see exactly the pressure that requires to do a simple game. So I will advise everyone that doesn't understand how the complexity, the the artistic part and the teamwork that really requires to do the most simple game that you can imagine, to go to a game jam and just to sit there near to a team, and just to understand this industry. I think that nowadays everyone just understood when they got to see the TV shows, for example. I think the TV shows at the cinema brought this industry to another level, because they kind of did the product placement very well, regarding the marketing, regarding the publicity, regarding the promotions. And I think also the artists that were involved in the industry regarding the promotion of the video games lately also did a great marketing for the industry. I won't say names, but I saw a lot of games in the game jams regarding a new that were made in a celebration of artists that everyone knows that is blonde, and they call themselves Swifties. So the last game jams that I went, a lot of games were created in celebration of Taylor Swift, for example. So I can joke about that all the time. So, and I kind of understood that a lot of artists were got some influence and influenced others to understand this industry. So I think it's in the better stage, at least, that it was 8 years ago, and it will grow up a lot. You can see the market share; it's growing a lot, these late years.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a societal and generational issue too, right? So like when we grew up, TV was a thing. Nobody talked about like, oh, TV. I mean, but 8 years ago, people were talking about, oh, TV is gonna make people dumb, and I mean, maybe they were right at some of the stuff, but like, 100%. I think games is the same. Like the conversation. I mean, I had my parents thinking that I was wasting my life, like, but now they know. Now they've been corrected, so it's fine. But like, but this happens still. I think it happens less in some cultures, like for instance in Korea, where people like it's okay to go play a game, so people like have a drink and then go play a game, and it's fine, right? But in the West, people are like, oh, it's a kids thing, or certain age groups like might not really get it, but it's fine. Those people are gonna die, and then the young kids are gonna take over, and it's gonna be fine. So just sit around tight. In 50 years, it's gonna be solved. But like, because you see the kids don't care. Like and that's why they want to express their love for music. They use games. They want to, like, whereas before maybe people would go try to do a movie. Now they want to make a game. Like that's I guess so far it's the best medium because it's the most interactive. Like you can be a part of it, and with UGC it just takes it to another level. You can make it without being a professional. So I think those things like just make it way more engaging. Yeah.
We were talking about Portugal and trying to understand how community is important, sharing information between the north of the country, between all of us. Would you say at this point that when it comes to the local industry, the local gaming industry in Portugal, are we unlocking our potential, or do we still need?
No, I think so. I moved to Portugal 6 years ago. It was an educated decision. I was living in San Francisco at the time. I wanted to start a company again. I had a company originally in Brazil, like a couple of companies, and then I wanted to start a game company but I knew I didn't want to do it in San Francisco. It was like kind of expensive and crazy. So I did some research in Europe. I looked at several cities, ended up here. So I moved here, and I started meeting the companies, and I realized that the potential is like actually pretty good. Like there's like good schools. There's a lot of people with talent. People speak English and they're plugged into the cultures, and there's a lot of like really good things. But as with like any small market, like you don't usually get exposed to the business side, so you don't learn how to make money. You don't learn how to pay attention to the customer. There's a lot of things you don't do. So a lot of it was like, oh, I want to make my own game, and then people go and make like some crazy game, and and some of them work, some of them don't, and it's fine. I think but I think more and more. When I got here, there was a hunger for the community to kind of connect, and I think so we did that. I mean, that was the thing that made us start the association. Association is not like this magical thing. It's a group of companies. Like it's a group of companies that got together and they want to improve the ecosystem. That's why they got together. And from the beginning, we I guess is not a Portuguese thing. So the meetings were not in Lisbon. We're like in Leiria, because then it's kind of like not the north, like and not Lisbon. And we flew in people from Azores, so they wouldn't feel like left out. So we talked, but that's kind of important, because this is how it works here, right? But then we built a group, and now things are getting better. We just had like the best week ever at GDC for Portugal. We had like a reception at the consulate, which was like full. I mean, you guys can see the pictures on LinkedIn. It was like great event. We had a booth, like a Portugal booth at the expo, which it was the first thing as well. And yeah, this keeps going. I mean, as the association, I was in Madeira yesterday, like talking to the startup Madeira guys, like talking about like how can we get better. So so you talk about like, have we unlocked the potential? No, but the potential is clearly here. I think it's just a matter of like sharing, and then people like Portugal has this power to attract senior people. Like Marcus moved here, I moved here. I mean, we are all people who've been working for a long time, right? The fact that we're here helps the community, because like we can kind of share their experiences, share our networks. And I'm just talking about the two of us, but there's like probably by now 100 people from games who moved to Portugal in the last 5 years. Like, so I think the being able to connect with those people, reach out to them. That's why the hub is important. Like the other day, one of the guys was like, "Oh, I want to do this thing, but I don't know who to talk to." I'm like, "There's a VC 2 doors down. Just knock on his door and ask." And he's like, "Oh, but can I go there?" I'm like, "Dude, you're in the same building. Just knock." And but what if he doesn't like try? And then later he's like, "Oh yeah, he was very nice, and he explained everything." Yeah, I mean, this is what happens when you're in a community, right?
When you unlock the potential.
Yeah, so I think we're on the way there. Like I don't think we're done by any stretch, but I think between the kind of raw potential, there's a lot of like good ideas, good talent here, and then being able to kind of learn from each other, get better at the business, get better at like production, like so we don't make those mistakes that might kill a small company, like if you did the wrong thing or chose the wrong tool, or by saving that time and focusing like on the right thing and getting people to really answer the questions like what do you want to do and figure out the right answers for them, because it's not one size fits all at all. Like games is very diverse. But yeah, I think I feel good about where we are, but there's definitely way more potential to be unlocked.
I can fill in there the reason why I moved here as well. Partly, I think it's a very interesting market. I think it's growing. You mentioned it's quite small, which I really like actually, because if it's small enough, you have to look bigger. You have to look outside, because you can't really become really big or do something great only with a small market. So you have to kind of look at it internationally but test it locally, and I think that's interesting. The second thing, we're not very big here. We're like, I think we're around 45 employees now or something in Portugal, but growing. But we are also employing people now from internationally, because there's a lot of people internationally coming here as well. And I think that's really good for the ecosystem as well. A lot of learnings, a lot of knowledge is coming in. And then I haven't been there long. I've been there for 2 years almost, in 1 month. So, and I do not speak Portuguese yet. I knew it was coming.
So on this positive note, I would say that the future of gaming is also about unlocking potential. We still have some time, so I would like to open the discussion to you. Does anyone have questions so we can keep the conversation going?
Hi, thanks for the conversation. I didn't hear about something so far, so I just wanted to see what you guys wanted to pitch in for that. 3 years ago, I think 3 or 4 years ago, there was this whole, let's say, trend back then, or maybe it was a fad, for play to earn. I don't know if you guys know much about that in the blockchain space, and there was a really good game called Axie Infinity that came out. It's a small studio. I think they were in Vietnam, like 14, 15 of them, but then they just blew up, right, in the blockchain space. And at that time, there was a lot of talk about play to earn and the ability for players not just to play for entertainment, but also so that they could earn something. Now, in certain communities, it became big, like in the Philippines. I think in Brazil, too, there were a lot of players. There was also an opportunity for people like me who were interested in gaming, but you could buy land, for example, right? I just wanted to know what you guys think about that play-to-earn side of things in gaming, and if it was just, is it dead, or do you guys think there's some growth for it?
That's a good question. I can start off. It's sleeping. It's probably a better word than dead. I think it grew too much in too short period of time with too little knowledge, and a bit too early. That's probably my take on it. Because if you look into the biggest two places you mentioned where you can buy land, Decentral and Sandbox, people bought for insane amount of money in order to speculate. And looking into the valuations now, they're worth absolutely zero. I think and the reason for it, they don't have any traffic. There's no one there. There's no interest. So I think what was good with it was that there were coming a lot of new technologies, new findings, but there were too much hype and too little. We're going to try to actually solve something. It's just going to be we're trying to make quick money. So let's pump and dump. And what I think will happen instead is that you are going to see now, which I love that things implode, that things die, because then you're going to grow up something that might be sustainable, that's actually going to be real. And I think that's what's going to happen. So you're going to see technologies coming from that era because it fast forwarded a lot of things. You're going to see, I was in Dubai recently as well, for example, and I met with an art gallery there, focusing a lot on NFTs before, entirely. Now, not so much. But what they are focusing on now is mixed NFTs, I would call it. Variation between a real artwork and an NFT, which is growing. Because then something that people actually going to buy that it can actually hang on a wall. Because in reality, if you want to have a stamp on a picture in your phone, no one's going to see it anyway. You have to print it in order for people to see it. But if you do this, things like that are coming out from it. So I wouldn't say it's dead. I think it's been sleeping. I think it's been too hyped. And then it went down. Some things are going to die, which they should. But I think it's good that things happen like this, because then you see new things coming. Was it answer to your question? Yeah. Anything to add?
I have my company and the association I represent have nothing to say on this matter, and I can say my personal opinion if you buy me a beer.
Luis, do we have questions over there?
Sorry, do we have questions?
Yes,
okay.
It's late and it's raining in Portugal.
Oh, here as well.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hey there. I was wondering about one topic that is very not very spoken about from an outsider perspective, which are regarding publishers. So I was wondering, what's your perspective on how is the publisher scene in Portugal, and how important are they to the success of smaller indie studios?
Interesting. Portugal. I can talk publishers in general, because I think a lot of the people here, if they work with a publisher, they might work with like an international publisher. It's not like you don't have to just work with publishers in Portugal. I think publishing, the traditional model is like developer makes a game, sends it over the wall, publisher picks up the game, and then sells it to consumer. Like, this is the traditional model, right? Like how things started. But more and more, like, everybody can publish their own games, which a lot of people do. And I think there's a spectrum of publishers today. Like before, it was like very one size fits all. Like the publisher would give you the license to work with the platform, they would give you the money to make the game, they might give you the hardware, like there's a lot of things they would give you so you could kind of finish the project. But today, like, you have publishers who will give you everything, from publishers who will give you nothing and just help you with the marketing, maybe just help you with like influencers, maybe just help you with. So I think the question, if you're looking to work with a publisher, you need to understand like what you're good at and what you're not good at that you need, and then find the publisher that can kind of complement you there. And there again, there's a wide selection. Maybe you're not going to find them in Portugal, because I think a lot of the teams here are more focused on kind of making games than doing publishing on behalf of others, even though a few companies do. Like, there are companies that buy games. There's companies that help you publish your game here in Portugal. My company at the moment is buying studios, so we, potentially we could buy a studio here in Portugal, like, to kind of be part of it. But I think first you got to start from, like, what am I good at? What do I need? And then go find a partner that kind of complements you. And I think there's a wide selection these days, but it's a lot easier to find them if you go to the B2B events around the world. So, like, Gamescom. I mean, there are events here in Portugal too, like DevGam in November will be probably the next one. But go out there and kind of do a lot of research. I think, like, if you know what a game you have, you can kind of do the research about, like, what other similar games to me, who are they working with, like, what kind of solutions they're using, and that might give you, like, an idea of how to find, like, the best partner. But yeah, I think the first thing is, like, understand yourself, understand your needs, and then do some research, and then I'm pretty sure you can find a partner.
I would actually say that finding a publisher, and that's a excellent question, by the way, it's very similar to finding an investor. And because it's kind of, you are going to give away something. If you take in an investor, you're going to give away a part of the company. If you take a publisher, you're going to give away a part of the game. And I think the further you have gotten, you should also look into actually what do you want to reach. Like you said before, what's your goal? Where do you want to reach and why? And is it going to be console, for example? Should you get a big publisher like Sony? Or do you want a smaller one? Do you need assistance with actually looking into what should actually do? Because I have no clue. And it's the same with investments. So I wouldn't do it too early. And I would try to figure out everything, and then I would wait until it really, really hurts. And then I would wait a bit longer. And then I would probably do it. Because otherwise, you're going to give away too much too early. And it's not going to be your baby anymore, it's going to be someone else's.
Right.
There was a fly. But, yeah.
Sorry.
I know.
I
terrible.
didn't want to interrupt you at all. Can I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say just on that note, I think there's a trade-off of, like, giving too early, but also I've also seen people be too precious and don't want to give anything, and that might also be a mistake. So I think you got to be careful. Like, you may need the help, like, and at some point it's better to have, like, a smaller piece of a bigger pie than to have nothing, right? So I think
I agree on that.
You got to identify, like, I mean, it's not easy, right? But that's kind of the balance. You got to, and if you understand your goals, it's easier for you to make the best decision. But generally, holding off until you can't anymore, like, will give you more options. If you can make it that far, then you have more choices to pick from. If you only have a PowerPoint, then you're only gonna get something, right? But if you have more stuff, then you have more paths. So it's kind of good if you can kind of stretch it.
And you might even find out that you shouldn't take money or you shouldn't publish because it wasn't a good idea.
Yeah, and I think this is when we wrap it up. Thank you, Marcos. Thank you, Jefferson. Thank you, Luis, over there as well. Thank you to all here and all over at the Porto. I do understand that the weather is not giving us truths, but we are stronger than that. This was an amazing conversation. 2024 and the next years have a lot of surprises and amazing things for the gaming industry and for all of us. So let's wait for that and enjoy the ride. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just to wrap this up, we would like to thank the Portuguese.
No, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can now.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
I was going to wrap up. Thank you to our panelists once again. Thanks to the Associação Portuguesa de Produtores de Videojogos and to the Startup Lisboa Gaming Hub for the help with setting up this session. And also to our partners who make all of this possible here in Lisboa Ferroviário and UPTech in Porto. Porto City Council, Investors Portugal, 351 community, the Portuguese startup community. And also, thank you to Sograp and Superboc, who are the sponsors to our networking moment over there. We will also have a networking moment here and some games to test, I believe, in both places. I think this is a last minute surprise. Let's go.